No Palmer, no Buonanotte, no Gu, lol, no Lavia, no Badia Shield, and long-term injuries to the same usual suspects. It seems like we're officially back to a real nitty-gritty Chelsea season where in the space of like a month and a half, we're already feeling like we're underprepared to deal with the intensity and challenges of the league this season. But tomorrow evening, we are up against our feeder club, our more expensive version of our Chelsea B team in Brighton. Brighton have had a really interesting start to the season. In the big games against Spurs and against Man City, they've shocked and surprised. They were unlucky not to beat Spurs in the end. They deservedly fought back against City to claim a 2-1 lead. And in their last two games, they battered Barnsley 6-0, courtesy of an incredible hat-trick from Diego Gomez. Welcome to Chelsea Football Club soon. And also their 2-2 draw against Spurs. Personally, I think the game will be very fascinating for tomorrow because, listen, we can't forget the heartache, the horror show that we saw against them at the start of this year. 2 back-to-back 3-0 losses. But what was interesting is that the first time we beat them, courtesy of Cole Palmer magic at the beginning of last season, we played without the ball. But when we lost them at the Amex Stadium, we lost when we had more possession and dominated the ball more. And for me, I can't really predict who's going to be playing more transitional. Ideally, it's going to be an end-to-end game because typically games versus Brighton have kind of been in that fashion. But now Brighton are looking more effective, kind of playing more strategically without the ball. Minter, one of the most underrated right wingers in the Premier League, has been lighting things up right now, and he's adding the finishing qualities to Brighton's counter-attacking game. Matoma, one of the best wingers in the league now for the last few years. Ruta, who has more of a starring show now that he doesn't have to share duties alongside Joao Pedro anymore. And obviously, Ayaris are improving, and they have lots of really interesting players like Ferdy as well, who I think is a great fullback that could even be playing for us because he can play in both positions. There is talent in this team, and Brighton may feel like they are better equipped now to take on this current Chelsea team who are feeling the fatigue right now, because we are. A lot of us predicted that the lack of pre-season, a Club World Cup tour, that was going to really impact maybe the start of our season, because you're asking for a lot of energy and physicality when you're playing in this league, right? I guess we're seeing some of those small signs already. Fingers crossed, players come back soon. Badia and Lavia are going to feel like new signings, but they aren't here yet at the moment. So we're going to have to play a really interesting game against Brighton tomorrow. No excuses, because when you're Chelsea Football Club, even if you're resorting to using your academy players because everyone else is injured, you're still expected to compete, challenge, and win. They're the terms you accept when you sign for us. So, yeah, man, it's going to be a really tough game against Brighton tomorrow. But if there is ever a time now to bring back that feel-good vibe and factor, it is going to be against our B team. It is going to be against the club that we've took everything from in that sense. So you guys, I hope you guys are ready for the preview today. Of course, I'm going to go through some of the key points from the press conference, and I'm going to focus on the match predicted lineup as well. So I hope you guys enjoy. And let's tackle what Maresca said in his presser. Now, as Enzo reveals, of course, don't expect to see Palmer or Buonanotte. That is quite annoying. He speaks about Mark Gu as well. And his comments on Mark Gu, I just kind of find a bit boring because it's all talk more than action. I think it's quite obvious that Gu, he should have been the original Strasbourg player. He needs to be out of this club for the next 2-3 years. He clearly has that Delap type of presence and potential. But Delap wasn't at City at the same age, was he? You know, he was doing his thing in the Championship, learning, honing his craft and his skill. He wasn't bagging 20 goals a season straight. I'm not expecting that from Gu. That is not normal to expect that from young players. So I just can't see Gu having much of anything, because if that was the case, he wouldn't have got the Sunderland loan straight off the bat. Enzo Fernandez fatigue is another interesting one to discuss. I think the entire fan base can clearly see this right now. As he says, Enzo can play in different positions for us. He can play as a 6 attacking mid. We use him for 90% of our games as an attacking mid. And I'm glad he says that because Enzo plays as an attacking mid. Why? Because he gets on the end of passes. He isn't the one supplementing the other attacking players. And I think we miss out on that sometimes. He's very good in that position. The reason why he can have some good and bad moments is probably because of the amount of games. It's impossible to think you can play 64 games. I know. And Enzo has literally played in nearly every game for us for the last year and a bit now. It's mad. It's insane. My criticisms for Enzo Fernandez isn't really about his game per se. It's just more about his use at times. I respect the fact that he's adapted his game to be this off the ball runner, hard worker, pressing type of player, which is kind of mad that after all the money we spent for him to replace the other pressers in your Mounts and Gallagher's, he's kind of being told to do the same thing, which is, I don't know, I find pretty interesting. But as I'm going to keep saying, hopefully he gets a rest tomorrow. And hopefully Enzo does utilize more in the second phase so he can kind of add more creativity to the team. Especially against the teams that are just going to park the bus, yeah? I don't need Enzo box crashing against teams parking the bus. I need Enzo playing those balls over the top to find other men like Pedro and co. That's how I see things. Of course, the goalkeeper situation, not really much of one, but with Sanchez, I'm going to give him some grace, yeah? As Enzo says, it's a quick decision, mistakes can happen. He's been with us for a long time. Last part of last season, the beginning of the season, he was fantastic. He made a mistake and recognized that, and he did. He held himself up to that. In terms of more injury news, though, of course, Tosin, don't expect him. Wes Fofana had a concussion against Lincoln, and the rest are okay. Romeo and Benoit are better. We'll see if they can join us tomorrow. The fact he's saying we'll see tells me don't risk it, Enzo. It's not worth risking it, man. Just take your time. Let's see how things play out. The last thing we need is one of these guys to break down again because they got rushed. That's how I see things. So in terms of that, though, that's really just everything. Interesting points maybe on Disasi being recalled, which is not going to happen. Even though, personally, listen, when you've got issues like this, I don't think ostracizing Disasins and Sterlings are right or fair. You can just use them. At least give them an opportunity to increase their market value. I mean, I'm sorry. That's how you should be doing it. I don't understand the ostracizing and kicking them out. I just think it's a bit mean and a bit unfair. And of course, in terms of the centre-back situation, I've trusted confidence in Achimpong. Is that giving us maybe potential hints that he could be playing a part tomorrow? I think right now it's going to take me to the part I've been waiting to get to, and that is the predicted lineup for tomorrow. I'm going to tell you guys exactly the lineup I see us using in tomorrow's game. As you guys are seeing on screen right now, this is my lineup for the game against Brighton. Yes, we're missing many key players in the team, but at the same time, I still thought this was like a pretty easy lineup to predict. I think it's the only one we can kind of turn to at the moment. I am going to have Joao Pedro up front. I'm going to have Esteval. I'm going to have Neto on the right. Garnacho on the left. A midfield of Andre and Moy. It has to be the case, in my opinion. And a defense of Cucurella, Chalobah, Achimpong. I've gone for Gusto. And I've gone for Robert Sanchez. I'm going to explain it back to front. Sanchez, of course, he's our best goalkeeper. Make of that what you will. But listen, he has got better over the last, 6 months now since he got kicked out the team the first time. I've seen some good things in him and I've seen some improvements. For me, it'll be interesting to see how he responds to a little bit of adversity. You have to expect that at this level. And hopefully he reminds us that it was only a blip. It doesn't say anything long-term about him. And he shows that against Brighton. The defense, I've gone for more pace in the back line. I've omitted Reece James because if we have something to take to the second half, his control and leadership will help us more compared to the first half. I need to support my wingers. I need Malo Gusto there because he's a touchline player that needs to offer something. I don't want to see this guy inverting. You know what? Tomorrow, I don't think it's inverted fullback time. I'll keep it brutally honest. And it's interesting because when we beat them, I think at home, it was 4-1, right? last season. We didn't invert no one. We kind of used more of like a classic back four against them. Yeah, we were susceptible to more counterattacks for sure, but it did offer us maybe a bit more injection of quality in our attack, and we took advantage. We have to be brave. We have to match. I don't need to invert no one against Brighton tomorrow. I'm hoping we kind of play without the ball a bit. I don't want to see 70% possession. I want to see at least 40%. Yeah, 45. 35 would be great, but I want to see between 35 to 45% possession against Brighton, because it tells me then we are playing for moments which have to be transitional ones. Of course, Achimpong is in this team. He did very well. Let me look back on stifling Mateta, one of the hardest strikers in the league right now. His passing will get better. He can move the ball. The kid can move the ball, yeah. But I can't expect him to play with like Levi Cole with like 4 years experience already. He's still young. Like these guys, you know, when you're working with young players, it's about dealing with the mental side as well. It's not just pure quality is enough. It's deeper than that. But he deserves an opportunity. There's a reason why the club didn't sign no centre-backs, because they wanted Josh, who has a lot of interest from many clubs, to be giving these moments. So Maresca, use the kid. I'm not expecting him to be perfect. I don't think any of you guys should, but use what you have and let the quality shine through. Chalobah alongside him. Listen, I kind of feel for Trev. I think he's been our best defender. I do a lot of reviews and analysis, and he wins the most duels. He's in the most tackles. I see him doing the job of other defenders when we're playing. Yes, there's been 1 or 2 mistakes here and there, but he nullifies them, he improves upon them, and he gets himself back in the game. And then he steps up even more. Yeah, the guy has been very good for us. Even against Lincoln, he had like more duels, like more aerials won than Wesley Fofana, who won 1 out of 6. And I'm seeing more praise for Fofana. I think sometimes when you're like a Chalobah, your name's just not sexy enough. So people are always waiting for your first mistake. And then they focus on that and remember that. And they don't see anything else past that moment compared to maybe how other players will get that fortune, right? But yeah, for me, it has to be these two. I want to see Drev really showing leadership alongside Achimpong. And obviously, Cucurella, of course, speaks for himself. What is there to really say? In midfield, Santos and Caicedo. I want these guys to hold. I don't want to see Santos playing the Enzo role of playing as an attacking mid. I don't think we need it, man. You know, I want it to be different. I want to see a quartet. I want to see Caicedo, who will drop deeper to help make a makeshift back three. I have that with Andre Santos as well. Both these guys can play out and receive from the back. That is a key thing. We can't be ignoring that detail. I want the width to be supported from your Gustos and your Cucurellas, because I think when you're Garnacho and Neto, I don't want these guys getting 2v1s. I think the only thing I see in Maresca's setup too often is how susceptible we can be for the wingers getting 2v1. And it's too hard. It's harder than it has to be. Let's give an option. Let's give an overlap. Let's try and create the spaces in better situations. But that is what I'm hoping I see from Cucu, and that's what I'm hoping I see from Gusto. I don't think I need to see, Gusto overlapping or whatever. I mean, inverting or Cucu inverting. Nah, man. I don't think that's the play against Brighton tomorrow. And that ends with my thoughts on the attack. I've gone for Joao Pedro, not Tyreek George. I think Joao Pedro. Why? Because Estefan has to play behind him. Why? Because these guys will play off each other. Estefan, one thing he's always brought, and we even saw this against Lincoln City, is that when he starts on the right, he comes inside and he just kind of speeds up the attack. He adds an injection of pace. And when you're combining that with another guy who does the same thing in Joao Pedro, you can cause and create a lot of problems for Brighton. And I think having a Joao Pedro who knows his teammates already, withdrawing from Brighton's defense, getting supported by Estefan, who has the qualities more centrally, with the out-wide outlets of Garnacho, who I want to see a good game from, and Neto, who I have to see an even better game from, because I don't know, man. I think Neto does better on the left compared to the right. I've been saying this for over a year. I just haven't seen his game translate more than it has to when he's on the right-hand side. But yeah, this is how I see us getting something against Brighton tomorrow. Let's start the game strong, and then we have the players off the bench at least we could turn to keep a draw. Ideally, I think the inverted stuff is a great way to end games when you have something to lead, but let's not show our hand by being too predictable against this Brighton team. So my friends, for my prediction, I'm going for a 2-1 Chelsea win, purely for the vibes and for the hope and for the emotion. So I hope you guys enjoy. Share your thoughts and opinions, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Cool.